Hi, I'm Richard Rogers, and I absolutely hope that you enjoyed today's spiritual message. You know, we at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center are committed to helping people live better lives. We're going to provide you tools over and over, spiritual tools that allow you to live your best possible life. And if you want to leave a donation to continue to allow the work that we do to support other people just like you, we say thank you. Thank you for your generosity, because this ministry is committed to making the world a better place.
All right. How many of you have been reading at home the Discover the Power Within You? It's been the focus of my series. I got an email today from a woman in Oregon who watches us online and is loving this book. So this is the final week. I picked 5 of my favorite chapters, and tonight we are going to talk about the miracle of abundance. How many of you would be willing to open up to more abundance in your life? Great. So my question for you tonight is, do you believe in poverty? We got one no and a very quiet room. Right? So that's the question that I want to go to tonight is, do you believe in poverty? And I'm not saying that there aren't people in the world that are living in poverty. But do you believe in poverty? Now we're up to 4 people that are shaking their head violently that they don't believe in poverty. So here's what I want you to see tonight. How much of you does or doesn't believe in poverty? And would you be willing to be in an experience of healing that part of you that does believe in poverty? Because I'd like to suggest at some level, culturally, we all have some level of belief in poverty. And I'd like to challenge you to really see if you'd be willing to heal that belief in poverty, and if healing that belief in poverty wouldn't transform your life at the next level. Because over and over again, the promise is that God is infinite. And spiritually, at some level, we believe that. But it doesn't mean that all your beliefs have fully integrated that experience. Sometimes we can absolutely believe in poverty in one moment and the abundance of God in another moment, and be so frustrated that it's not the abundance of God isn't showing up in our life at the level we want it to. Has everybody had that experience of being financially frustrated? And if you've had that experience and you think, well, I'm a good person. How many of you have ever used that line? But I'm a good person, right? But I'm a good person. I go to church, or I'm a good person. I didn't run that lady over in the crosswalk. Well, why don't I get blessed more? What's going on? And today, I want to take that on. I want to take on that experience of that frustration of when you have a belief that God is abundant, and yet you have this belief in poverty or that things don't work. Because I want us to be in that, honestly, in that conflict. Because it is conflict, right? Have you ever had a belief that more was possible than you could seem to demonstrate in your life? I think most of us have, at one point or another, had that belief that we said something more is possible. I believe that greater possibilities. I believe that there's a higher level of good that I could be achieving or could be living. I know I could be more loving, or I know I could be kinder than that's what way that's showing up. And I think prosperity or abundance is one of those places where we can kind of get frustrated, and especially frustrated with ourselves. It's like, Richard, you know better. Have you ever said that to yourself? Maybe not, Richard, you know better, but maybe you have said that and you're trying to help me out a little bit. Richard, you know better, right? Right? Because I am a group project, so I can take all the help I can get, right? Right? But that's what I want to get to today, because I really want to see if you can experience greater good than you've ever known before. So, what did Jesus say? Jesus said in Matthew 7:7, ask and it will be given unto you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open unto you. For everyone who asks receives. Right? Can I just underline that? For everyone who asks receives. And he who seeks finds. And he who knocks, it will be open. For which of you, if his son asked for bread, would give him a stone? Or if he asked for a fish, would give him a serpent? If you then who are evil, if you then who are confused, if you then have issues, because some of us do, if you then who have issues know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more would your heavenly Father want to give unto you? And in Luke 12:32, fear not, little flock, for it's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And if we look at all the miracles that Jesus performed, turning water into wine, feeding the 5,000, there's another story of Jesus feeding the 4,000. You know, all those stories are stories of abundance, right? Because when he was feeding the 5,000, did he have a plan where the food was going to come from? No, he didn't. He just turned, looked to heaven, and started blessing what he had. And as he blessed what he had, it expanded. That's why we do circles of gratitude. That's why we spend 40 days in gratitude, because as we give thanks and bless what we have, it absolutely expands. But you couldn't see it, right? The people that were sitting down and because they were told to sit down and were preparing to receive, had no idea where it's going to come from. See, living in faith really requires us to be willing to receive beyond our intellectual understanding. And the smarter we get culturally, sometimes the more difficult it is for us to be blessed, because we think that our mind should be able to figure out how the blessing's going to get to us, where the blessing's going to come from, what it should look like, how it should arrive, you know, all those details. And the reality is that if we want to be powerfully blessed, we have to there's a point in our life where we just have to be willing to sit down, really sit down and receive. And that's really where I want to go tonight. I want to go to how do we do that from a spiritual point of view. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, said this: spiritual substance from which all things come into to the visible world is never depleted. It is right with you all the time and responds in faith and upon your demand. So how do we move from a belief in poverty to a belief in abundance? That interests me. Because how many of you have been told, well, just change what you believe? Right? And it's like, well, if I hear that, but how do you really do it? How do you transform a belief? How many of you have experienced a level of poverty in your life? Like that you've actually lived in the pain of that, right? In the pain of poverty. And poverty is painful. It is 100% painful. It's painful in so many ways, poverty. And once you've experienced poverty, and once you've really experienced that, it's hard to say, well, I don't believe in it, because we've walked in it. We know it. We know what it's like to walk in poverty. It's painful. And then if somebody says to you, well, just don't believe in it, it's like, well, okay, so where do you sign up to get a lobotomy, right? Like, how do you do that? Do you just stop thinking? You just cut your brain off and say, well, now I just believe in my happy place, right? So I don't have to believe in any of the things I've experienced. I just now believe in my happy place. And so tonight what I want to do is kind of take a deeper step into how do you transform that? Because I noticed about a year ago that my prosperity, my abundance had plateaued. That I was working and doing several things to try to increase my outer experience, my experience of abundance, because my level of abundance had plateaued, and I knew it plateaued. And I wanted to go beyond that. I wanted to move beyond that. And so tonight I'm going to share with you what is absolutely working in my life and how I think it's possible to do that. All right? So I did a series of teachings years ago, and I've done them multiple times here, called Healing the Soul. And they have the CDs in the bookstore. And that's what I really want to focus on, is to how to help us move from a very tangible, real, painful experience of lack and limitation to the greater goodness of God. And what I want you to know is that this actually works. It works over and over again in my life when I work it. Now, does it work in my life when I don't work it? Have you? Oh, that's all right. I just thought we had a screaming child in the room. Does it work when you don't work it? Not so much, right? And sometimes we put the focus on changing our world out here and going to fix our world out there before we do the inner work that really changes us. And so tonight, this is 100% about you doing your inner work, okay? Are you with me? And this is going to be like a little mini bumper, all right? So all right. So this is you, okay? This is a time in your past where you experienced poverty or lack or limitation or disappointment or frustration. This is a time where you didn't get your needs met. Only that part of you is probably not smiling, right? So I want you to begin to think of a time in your life where you experienced poverty or lack or limitation or whatever it was. And I want you to become really clear about that. Well, Richard, I don't like to go there. We just put the happy smiley face over that part of my life. We don't go there. And I'm going to say, well, tonight, what if we just go there as a group? What if we just collectively go to that place where we didn't have enough? And if you don't have any memory of lack and limitation, I say, God bless you. I don't know how you made it to adulthood without any experience of lack and limitation, but if you literally made it to adulthood without any experience of lack and limitation, praise be to you, God, really. Okay? So what I want us to do then, the first thing I want you to do is connect. I want you to connect with a part of you that still needs to be healed. I want you to actually see yourself, feel yourself. Well, Richard, I'm really in resistance to this. I don't want to touch that part of me. It's like, I get it. But you also don't want to keep dragging that pain into every new experience either, do you? No. So I want you to really connect with that part of you. And I want you to begin to love that part of you in all the ways you wanted to be loved in that experience, right? I want you to fill that part of you with so much love that it's willing to release the pain, and that's the third step, is release. Okay? So I want you to connect with you. I want you to really discover the places within you that didn't have enough. I want you to love them in all the ways they want to be loved. And I want you to see that if you give them enough love, will they give their pain back to God? Right? Can you love yourself so much that that hurt part of you, that broken part of you, that sad part of you, can you actually see it giving its pain back to God? Even if it's only a little bit at a time, can you see it giving its pain back to God in such a way that it actually feels more love than it's ever felt before? And then I want you to just love it and let it release its pain. Now, what happens when you give anything to God? God is the only thing in the universe that is so pure that can never be polluted. So whatever nasty, broken pain, ugly pain you give to God, it is instantly purified and comes back as love. And it actually is transformative. It will actually, instantly, it comes back. And what's interesting about this process is that as you give your pain to God and it comes back as love, it actually transforms the energy, because pain is a terrible way to store energy. Because you can't create with it. Because you don't want to touch it, you don't want to deal with it, so you never really create with it. So it's all this energy that is kind of stored off. And if you look at this is going to represent your soul, right? Say in your soul that you have 40% pain. Okay? Now, how much do we want to feel that 40% pain? Not. So then it takes another 40% of our energy not to feel that 40%, to keep it pushed down, right? So now, what's the net cost? 80%. So now we're trying to live our life on 20%. Can you see a problem? Right? It doesn't work. So what I actually want you to do is I want you to begin to heal all the stuff that's buried in here, to bring it up, to become conscious of it, connect with it, love it, and release it. And then as you release all that energy, what I want you to do is I want you to imagine yourself giving yourself everything that you wanted in that point. Right? So once you have all that thing, if you wanted a Davy Crockett rifle, I want you to give yourself a Davy Crockett rifle. If you wanted 12 puppies, I want you to give yourself 12 puppies. If you wanted a birthday party with 50 kids, I want you to give yourself a birthday party with 50 kids. I want you to give yourself everything you want till this part of you has no more memory of lack and limitation. See, we can't circumvent ourselves to get to where we want to go, but we can heal ourselves so that we let go of the pain of the past and it's actually replaced with the abundance of God. But if we kind of keep trying to step over ourselves and drag our old parts of ourselves into the new life experience, we still believe the same things we've always believed, and we never really have a healing that's deep enough to transform our lives. And what I want you to see tonight is that you can actually heal yourself at a level that is transformative, that you can go to a greater level of good than you've ever known before, but you actually have to stop, turn within, focus on yourself, go deeper than you want to go, love yourself in ways that you've never been loved before, release the pain of the past, give all the pain back to God, and then give yourself everything you wanted. Like, if you always wanted a pair of black patent leather shoes, well, Richard, that's just stupid now. I don't want black patent. Give yourself black patent leather shoes, right? Until there is no more memory of lack and limitation and poverty within your soul. See, we can't change our outer life until we change our inner life. We keep trying to create a better outer life by getting a new job or hitting the lottery or whatever we're trying to do, but we can't have a breakthrough till our inner life is different. And so every time, now you ready for the big homework assignment of this week? I want you to make a list of every time you didn't have enough. Well, what else am I going to do for the next 50 years, right? I want you to make a list of every time you didn't have enough, and I want you to go through this process. I want you to connect with that moment where you didn't have enough. And I don't care what it was. If you didn't get the prom date you wanted, or if you didn't, you wanted a car when you were 16 and you didn't get a car. I don't care what it is, but I want you to actually go back to the moment where you experienced poverty, lack, or limitation, whatever it was, the moment you experienced, and I want you to connect with yourself. I want you to actually reparent yourself. I actually want you to love yourself in all the ways you wanted to be loved. And so that all the love and that God has for you, all the love that you can actually develop for yourself, you can actually release the pain of the past, give the pain of the past to God. All that pain is instantly transformed. It comes back as grace. And then you get to be so generous. Because in your mind's eye, can you imagine anything? Can you imagine a red 66 Mustang right now? Most of us can, right? A red 66 Mustang, right? Now, if I said 2017 Ferrari, you might not know exactly what a 2017 Ferrari is, but you can get kind of close in your mind, right? Of course, it's red. Tom Selleck's driving it, doesn't matter, right? Right? Because if it's a Ferrari and it's red, it's got to be Tom Selleck, right? Right? So you can imagine anything in your mind's eye. So all the times and all the moments where you didn't get enough, you can actually go back and give yourself everything you want so that there's no more lack within you. Like, if you keep trying to transform your life by just saying, I don't think that thought anymore, what happens to anything you resist? It persists. What happens to anything you heal? It's gone forever. I believe that as a culture, we're carrying around so much pain. And we just don't know what to do with it. So we just keep pushing it down and we keep marching. Have you ever had that experience? Where something was so painful and you just didn't know how to deal with it, so you just pushed it down and just got up the next day and just kept moving. I want you to heal those. I want you to heal every time you didn't have enough, so that your soul doesn't even remember what it was like not to have enough. That you don't believe it anymore. That you are healed at such a profound level that your life is forever different. And I'm going to put another plug in for my tape set, not because I make any money off this, it's just because I want to make sure that I can only, if in 25 minutes I'm only going to give you so much information, that I want to make sure if you want more that you go talk to Julia. She's not there today, but somebody is. Susan, I think. Susan's in the bookstore tonight. All right? So that you actually get the support you need to heal. Okay? I am ready to heal my soul. Will you say that with me? I am ready to heal my soul. I am ready to transform all sense of lack and limitation. Together. I am ready to transform all sense of lack and limitation. My God is infinite, and I am ready to prove it. Together. My God is infinite, and I am ready to prove it. That tonight, I'm going to challenge you. I'm absolutely going to challenge you to change the way you're healing your life. To change it. Because I don't think it's working for most of us. I think most of us have a spiritual belief that is greater than we're living, and we're frustrated that we don't understand why it's working that way. Why we're kind of stuck in limitation and situations and conditions that we've prayed about and wanted to change. But what we know over and over again is the inside creates the outside. The inner life creates the outer experience. And if you don't change, if you don't heal your inner life, nothing changes on the outside. Spiritual principle is spiritual principle. And it works when you work it all the time. Tonight I'm going to challenge you to heal the places within you that have been the most beat up by life so that you don't have to carry that one day further. That you can take all that pain, all that energy, all that disappointment, and give it to God. And replace it with pure love. And be so generous in your mind's eye with all the different aspects of you that didn't have enough. So that you get the birthday party and the prom date and the car and the dress and patent leather shoes and the Johnny Rocket rifle and the whatever it was that you wanted. So that there's only abundance within you. And when there's only abundance within you, guess what you're going to see on the world around you? Only abundance. That tonight, I want to set you free. And I got to tell you, my financial life has gone. I'm a very blessed man. I've always been a very blessed man. But when I do my inner work, my outer life changes. When we do our inner work, our outer life changes. Are you willing to try? Okay, pray with me. I invite you to open your mind, your heart, your soul to the activity of God. That tonight we give thanks for all that God is. We give thanks for the blessings of God, and we take it deep within our soul. We are no longer willing just to drag ourselves into a new day. We are no longer willing to tell the parts of ourselves to shut up and keep marching. We're actually going to slow this process down. Go within, heal ourselves at depth, and transform our lives. So tonight we give thanks that we are no longer a victim to our history, that we are no longer a victim to our story, that we can heal ourselves at depth and transform our lives. And for this we give thanks, and so it is. Amen.